Imagine the world of a video game. In this world, you encounter characters who aren't controlled by human players. We call these characters non-player characters, or NPCs. They're the ones who populate the game world, carrying out their pre-programmed lives, oblivious to the true nature of their existence. Now here's an intriguing concept. What if we, in our reality, are much like those NPCs, living in a grand video game simulation? It's a thought-provoking idea, isn't it? This video is all about exploring the philosophy of existence in relation to that very concept. We'll explore into the nature of reality and simulations, discuss NPC psychology and consciousness, examine the illusion of free will and determinism, and finally, we'll reflect on our own existence. Are we like video game NPCs, just characters in a vast, complex simulation? So the question we're exploring today is, what if we're all just NPCs in a grand video game simulation? Now let's dive into the simulation theory. This mind-bending hypothesis suggests that our reality might not be as real as we perceive it to be. Instead, it could be a highly advanced computer-generated simulation. Doesn't sound too far-fetched, does it? After all, we're living in an era where virtual reality and augmented reality technologies are becoming increasingly sophisticated. Let's think of it this way. Video games are essentially simulations, right? They are digital constructs designed to mimic or represent aspects of reality. In these games, we have worlds complete with landscapes, weather patterns, and inhabitants. The inhabitants, or non-player characters, interact with the environment and with each other, following the programming coded into their digital DNA. Now, let's scale up this concept. Imagine a simulation so immense, so complex, so intricately detailed that it encompasses the entirety of our known universe. This isn't your everyday video game. This is a simulation of life itself, of existence. And in this grand simulation, we are all the non-player characters. Or are we? These NPCs in video games have a role to play, don't they? They are part of the story, part of the world. They add depth and richness to the game, creating a more immersive experience for the player. In the same vein, every one of us, in this potential simulation we call reality, has a role to play. We interact with our environment and with each other, adding depth and richness to our world. But here's the kicker. In video games, these NPCs are not conscious. They don't question their existence. They don't ponder the nature of their reality. They simply exist, stuck in their predetermined loops, following the programming coded into them. If our reality is indeed a simulation, does that mean we too are bound by this kind of predetermined programming? This opens up a whole can of philosophical worms, doesn't it? And we're just getting started. As we continue to explore this concept, we'll encounter even more complex and provocative questions about the nature of existence. So buckle up, it's going to be quite a ride. But what makes us different from the NPCs in video games, you might ask? In essence, the most significant divergence lies in our consciousness. NPCs, or non-player characters in video games, are typically limited by their pre-programmed behavior. They are designed to respond in a certain way, to follow a specific set of rules, and to perform tasks without deviation. They don't have the ability to think, to feel, to question, or to dream. In short, they lack consciousness. But let's examine a philosophical quandary. Can NPCs in video games exhibit consciousness? This is a fascinating concept to ponder, as it challenges our understanding of consciousness itself. Traditionally, consciousness has been associated with self-awareness, with the ability to perceive one's existence and surroundings. Yet, if we were to program an NPC with the capability to learn and adapt, to make decisions based on past experiences, would that make them conscious? Or would their consciousness be merely an illusion, a product of complex programming? Now let's engage in a thought experiment. Imagine if NPCs became self-aware. Imagine if they started questioning their existence, their purpose. It would be as if characters from a novel suddenly realized they were part of a story, their lives dictated by the whims of the author. How would that affect their existence and purpose? Would they strive to break free from their programmed routines to create their own narratives? Or would they despair at the realization of their predetermined fate? The implications of such a scenario are profound. It would not only redefine our understanding of consciousness, but also raise ethical questions about our interactions with NPCs. Are we morally accountable for our actions in a virtual world, even if that world is populated by conscious entities? If NPCs became self-aware, it would certainly put a different spin on our gaming experiences. It would force us to confront the nature of our own existence and to question the boundaries between reality and simulation, between player and non-player. After all, aren't we all just characters in the grand game of life? Another interesting aspect to consider is the concept of free will. In the realm of video games, non-player characters, or NPCs, are confined to a fixed set of behaviors. They don't have the ability to make independent choices or deviate from their programming. They are, in essence, bound by a deterministic code. Now, let's bring this into our world. We like to believe we have free will. We take pride in our ability to make choices, to navigate our lives, to be the authors of our own stories. But what if our lives are not that different from those of NPCs? Consider the philosophy of determinism. It suggests that all events, including our actions, thoughts, and decisions, are determined entirely by previously existing causes. Our lives, according to this view, are like elaborate domino effects, each moment a consequence of the one before. Much like an NPC, our paths may be predetermined by the circumstances of our birth, our environment, our genetics, factors that we had no control over. There are, of course, counter-arguments. Some philosophers propose compatibilism, the idea that determinism can coexist with free will. We may be influenced by external factors, but we still make choices within those constraints. Others, however, stand by libertarianism, the belief in absolute free will, unbound by any predeterminism. They argue that we are not merely following a script, but are active participants in shaping our lives. But let's circle back to our original question. What if we're like NPCs in a video game? If our reality is a simulation, are our choices truly ours, or are they coded into our existence by an unseen programmer? Determinism, much like the predetermined paths of NPCs, raises some profound questions about our existence. It challenges our perception of free will and our understanding of ourselves. And whether you lean towards determinism, compatibilism, or libertarianism, it's worth pondering. How much of your life's path is truly in your hands? This brings us to the big question. Could we be NPCs in a video game? Let's consider this, drawing parallels between our existence and the lives of NPCs. In a video game, NPCs are designed to interact with the player, providing assistance, challenges, or story progression. They function within a predetermined set of rules, unable to deviate from their programmed paths. Isn't that, in a sense, similar to how we lead our lives? We are born into a world with pre-existing rules and systems. We have societal norms and laws guiding our behavior, and natural laws dictating the physical possibilities of our actions. Like NPCs, we're confined within the boundaries of our environment. But here's where it gets interesting. What if our reality is a simulation created by higher beings, just like game developers create video games? This idea, while mind-bending, isn't entirely new. Various philosophers and scientists have speculated that our universe could be a sophisticated simulation. If this were true, it would mean that our lives, our choices, and our experiences are all part of a grand design, much like the lives of NPCs. But unlike NPCs, we have consciousness. We're aware of our existence, our thoughts, and our emotions. This awareness, this consciousness, is what sets us apart. Consider this. If an NPC was programmed with advanced artificial intelligence, could it become self-aware? Could it ponder its existence, question its purpose, or strive for more than its programming allows? If so, would it still be an NPC or something more? Have you ever experienced misplacing an item only to find it in a different location from where you initially left it, despite being certain of where you left it? Could this be an indication that the rules of the game have been altered? Are we among the few who are aware that we are living in a video game? Whether we are NPCs or not, this concept certainly provokes a lot of existential questions. It challenges us to reflect on our purpose, our identity, and the nature of our reality. So are we NPCs? Well, that's a question for you to ponder. So, what have we learned today? We've looked into the intriguing possibility of our existence being akin to that of non-player characters in a grand video game. We've explored the nature of reality and simulations, contemplating how our world might be a more complex version of the simulated environments we create in games. We've pondered the consciousness of NPCs, their pre-programmed behavior, and their lack of genuine free will. We've drawn parallels between these limitations and the philosophical concept of determinism in our own lives. We've also reflected on the existential questions that this concept raises about our own identity, purpose, and existence. It's a journey that invites us all to see the world through a different lens, to question our perceptions of reality, and to consider the implications of our actions. Whether we're NPCs in a grand video game or not, it's a fascinating concept to explore. Until next time, keep questioning the nature of your reality. But what if not all of us are NPCs? Just as we pondered the possibility that we might be non-player characters in a grand video game, let's explore a new dimension to this theory. What if there are individuals among us who are not bound by the deterministic rules that govern NPCs? People who possess a level of self-awareness and free will that surpasses our own? This is not a new concept. In fact, it's been the subject of many science fiction narratives. The notion that there might be players living among characters, able to control their actions and decisions in a way that others cannot. But how would we recognize these non-NPCs? Could we even tell the difference between us and them? Consider this. If we are all NPCs, our actions and thoughts are predetermined by a complex set of rules and algorithms. But a non-NPC, with their superior consciousness and free will, might be able to break these rules. They could exhibit behaviors that are out of the ordinary, make decisions that seem irrational or unpredictable, and possess knowledge or insights that seem beyond what an NPC should know. But here's the catch. We, as potential NPCs, might not be able to perceive these differences. Our understanding of reality is limited to what our programming allows us to comprehend. So, a non-NPC could be living among us, exhibiting extraordinary traits, and we wouldn't even know it. This adds another layer of complexity to the NPC theory, doesn't it? It challenges our understanding of reality and consciousness even further. And it leaves us with even more questions to ponder. Are there non-NPCs among us? If so, who are they? And what does this mean for our own existence? As always, we encourage you to keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep seeking answers.